Captain Carl waited in the antechamber, the airlock hissing as the pressure inside stabilized. They had heard the distress signals of an experimental FTL shuttle, which meant that whatever was on the other side of that door was a new species. Unfortunately, the language the ship's occupants spoke was indecipherable, so translation units were prepared for their guests. Simple shapes and pictures were used to tell them where to dock, and his cruiser did the rest. The captain took a slow breath, the air a bit thicker than normal to match what the unknown ship's atmosphere was, with a higher atmosphere and slightly higher O2 count than normal. He was getting used to it, but breathing too quickly could overwhelm his system, as per Dr. Orko's warnings. Beyond that, the air was fine, and was even a bit pleasant. A final hiss sounded, and the door to the airlock slowly opened. On the other side were 5 creatures, bipedal with wide chests and hips, 2 arms with manipulators on the end, with a seemingly excessive amount of digits. The suits they wore were similar to Carl's own spacesuits. Well, almost. One of the creatures wore a far more flamboyant costume, a flaring yellow with a jagged red line across the wide torso. It was odd, but Carl ignored it for now. A creature, not the yellow one, stepped forward. The reflexive black glass of its helmet cleared, showing a flat face, half covered in fur and deep-set eyes. Interesting. Perhaps they suffer balding. The creature waited, and Carl remembered themselves. He held his hand out, and 2 translation units were given to him. He first placed one upon his neck, clipping it tightly, and handed the other to the creature. It looked behind at one of its fellows, before reaching up and removing its helmet. Carl kept his face neutral, his snout not even twitching. This creature seemed to not be manged, but just generally hairless. At least, it was healthy. The creature tightened the translator, and Kyle saw his pupils dilate as the translator acclimated. In a few moments, the captain greeted the creature. "Hello, I am Captain Kyle, commander of this vessel, the GVS Morty. What do you call yourself?" The creature's look of surprise tickled Kyle. "I am Corporal Mike Richardson, commander of the Shuttle Blink. Pleasure to meet you." Mike held out his manipulator. Kyle paused, then held out his own. Mike grabbed Kyle tightly, causing his hair to stand on end. The soldiers immediately raised their weapons. Kyle opened his mouth to cry out, but didn't make it past "Stand!" before a yellow blue filled the room. In a moment, his men were on the ground, weapons behind the creatures, and the yellow-suited human between Kyle and Corporal Mike. Kyle stumbled back as the corporal began to shout, "God damn it, Whiplash! What the fuck?" Followed by the yellow one's reply, "I don't fucking care. You just caused a diplomatic incident and knocked out our welcoming party." Kyle suddenly looked around. His men were indeed unconscious, and the door opened as more soldiers came through. "Weapons down. It was an accident. Do not be alarmed," Kyle ordered. "Take these men to the medbay. Leave 2 here with me." Corporal Mike was still arguing with the one in yellow. Whiplash? What sort of person is named after an injury? "Back off, and if you pull that again, you're staying on the ship until first contact is over." Kyle watched as Whiplash muttered something and was against the wall. 1 second within arm's reach, and the next, leaning against the wall. "What the fuck?" one of his new guards yelped, reaching for his weapon. A hand stopped the frightened soldier. At least, Kyle could rule out insanity. With careful words, the captain tried to resume first contact. The corporal explained what a handshake was, and a second attempt was successful. Kyle coughed again. "I apologize, but what the hell is that?" he asked, nodding to Whiplash. The corporal chuckled. "Just a human. That's our species name." Kyle swallowed. "Okay, so humans were fast. I see. I apologize for scaring you. You're kinda incredibly quick." Corporal Mike chuckled. "No, that's just Whiplash. She's a super." "A what?" 20 minutes later, Captain Kyle sent a priority broadcast to his home planet of Hamlin. First contact established with natives of a planet called Earth. Located in sector HCZX 36C. Class, sapient/highly dangerous. Relevant footage attached. Please advise. Carl watched the footage once more, just to ensure that he hadn't had a psychotic episode. Corporal Mike Richardson held a small flame above his hand. No fuel, just a raw flame. He claimed he couldn't do more than that. A weak superpower on his world. Yes, because breaking the laws of thermodynamics as a party trick was fucking weak. Carl retired to his chambers. Strict orders not to engage with the humans for any reason beyond life or death emergencies. The one called Whiplash could take out his entire ship herself, and there was an entire species of these monsters? He let his thoughts sink for a while before opening his contraband locker and taking a large bottle of Heitling cider. He didn't use a cup, simply swallowing the strong drink until he could sleep. Perhaps tomorrow he will wake up from this nightmare and things would go back to sanity. Until then, Captain Carl took another swig.